Tonight on NewsWatch, a show of power by the U.S., what troop exercises say to Russia when it comes to Ukraine. Plus, a major stand for the rights of the unborn and what it could mean for the pro-life movement. And Christians trapped in a holy war in a region once a stronghold amidst spiritual darkness. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. Hundreds of U.S. troops have arrived in Poland for military exercises. Good evening, I'm Heather Sells. They are part of the strongest response so far to Russia's threat against Ukraine. NATO allies also went on maneuvers in the Baltic Sea. Ukraine welcomed the action, but as John Woggy reports in our top story tonight, tensions there are rising.
5 battleships took part in the Baltic NATO maneuvers, a show of strength for eastern members of the alliance. They were once part of the Soviet Warsaw Pact, but joined NATO after the fall of the Soviet Union. It's a move directly related to Russia's action against Ukraine.
The deployment of Standing NATO Mine Countermeasures Group 1 is one of those measures designed to assure our allies in the Baltic of NATO's resolve and solidarity and preparedness to meet any challenge.
The first wave of 600 American troops, U.S. Army paratroopers, landed in Poland Wednesday for a month of military exercises. They're also headed to Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Poland welcomed them with fanfare, just hours after Vice President Joe Biden's trip to Ukraine.
We have been clear that more provocative behavior by Russia will lead to more cost and to greater isolation.
Ukrainian officials say they are grateful and hope Moscow receives the message.
At least we have received support from the United States that they will not leave us alone with the aggressor.
But the public saber-rattling hasn't convinced the pro-Russian militias in eastern Ukraine to give up their occupation of public buildings. And tens of thousands of Russian troops remain poised on the Ukrainian border, believing that Ukraine's government will get only moral support, nothing military, from NATO and the West. John Woggy, CBN News.
And Dr. Paul Bonicelli, Executive Vice President of Regent University, served in the Bush administration. He joins us now with more on this situation in Ukraine. And Dr. Bonicelli, we of course have NATO exercises, naval exercises in the Baltic Sea, and we've got U.S. troops in NATO nations. Is this enough at this point in time to check Vladimir Putin?
It is not. I'm glad the president's doing this, but it is really too few. We're talking about 600 U.S. troops. That's the total, spread among 4 countries, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. And the Europeans aren't putting any troops in. So it's at least something to show Putin that the United States is going to try to resist, but it's not enough. Putin is doing what he wants to do.
The president's critics are saying that, Obama at this point is really being outsmarted by Putin. I mean, do you see that going on? I mean,
I don't know if it's outsmart, because I think the president's a smart man. I think he has made a decision. He will not have a military conflict if he can at all help it. And he's dealing with someone that knows that and is willing to push as far as he needs to get everything he wants. And so far, Vladimir Putin is getting every single thing he wants.
And what do you think it is that he wants? Where is he going with all of this?
I think that he wants what he said 14 years ago he wanted, which is he wants to rebuild Russia as a great nation. And the only way Russia is a great nation is if it controls what it calls the near abroad. Those countries around it cannot be hostile to Russia. They have to be sympathetic to its interests, or at least neutral. And that means they can't be in the Western orbit. They cannot be in NATO. And so that's why he's doing what he's doing. And he'll carve off each chunk in this very nefarious way by sending thugs in to stir up unrest, and then he has to come save the day, he says.
So what are you hoping that President Obama will do at this point if the NATO naval exercises aren't enough?
I'd like to see him send a lot more American troops. I'd like to see the Europeans send troops, the Germans and others. And I would like to see him really hit hard on sanctions, because that's the only thing Putin would appreciate is when he knows he'll actually suffer, he will moderate his behavior, but not until then.
When you think about all this conflict, we've been hearing some on the role of the church in Ukraine. Do you think the church can make a difference at this point in time?
I hope so. Certainly by means of changing the culture, making people more amenable, not only to strengthen their democracy, because Ukraine doesn't have the strongest democracy and there is a lot of corruption in that society. It's good to see Christian leaders rise to the top in this interim government. But at the end of the day, this really is a statecraft issue first. And so you just hope that Christians are praying and serving the roles that they're supposed to.
All right, Dr. Bonicelli, thanks for your time.
Sure.
The United States and Europe should set aside their differences with China and Russia and focus on the growing threat from radical Islam. That is a warning this week from former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair. In a London speech, Blair said he believes that threat needs to be at the top of any global agenda. But instead, he said, many world leaders are ignoring the problem. Blair wants the U.S., Europe, and others to support the new government in Egypt against the Muslim Brotherhood. And he says the future of the region depends on the fate of Egypt. Well, did you know that the Internal Revenue Service rewards tax cheats, but only if they work for the agency? A new report reveals that the IRS routinely gives bonuses to employees, even those who still owe back taxes. Charlene Aaron reports.
A report by the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration found the IRS paid more than $2.8 million in bonuses to employees with recent disciplinary problems, including $1 million to workers who owed back taxes. The report focused on a 2-year period from late 2010 to late 2012. It also found that more than 1,000 IRS workers who didn't pay their taxes also received extra time off, some 10,528 hours, a value of 250,000 taxpayer dollars.
Other examples of misconduct by workers getting bonuses included misusing government credit cards for travel, drug use, violent threats, and fraudulently claiming unemployment benefits.
The Assistant Inspector General of the Treasury Department called the actions alarming, saying, "Certainly some of this is egregious. Someone working at the IRS shouldn't be getting a performance award." Outraged taxpayers agree.
I'm absolutely appalled.
Just so many stupid things go on in our country anymore.
That's not the only example of hypocritical policies in the government. A former official for the Federal Reserve writes in the Wall Street Journal that banking regulators make nearly 3 times as much as bankers themselves. Paul Kupiec writes, the average salary of a bank employee was just under $50,000 in 2012, compared to over $190,000 for workers at FDIC and other regulatory agencies. The evidence that federal spending is out of control keeps piling up. The Congressional Budget Office projects the federal debt will go from $17.7 trillion today to $27 trillion in 10 years. That could leave the average American facing a higher tax burden just to pay off Washington's folly. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
The Israeli army is inviting Arab Christians to enlist. Both male and female Jewish Israelis are automatically drafted into the Israel Defense Forces when they complete high school, but minorities are exempt. Christian Arabs have historically viewed themselves as part of the Palestinian Arab people. But recently, Greek Orthodox priest Father Gabriel Nadaf has encouraged Christian youth to enlist as a way to integrate into society. Israel's military capability will be strengthened after buying some huge cargo planes from the U.S. CBN News got an inside look at what these planes can do. Chris Mitchell brings us that story from Jerusalem.
Top U.S. and Israeli officials greeted the first of 6 U.S.-made transport aircraft sold to Israel as it landed at the Nevatim Air Force Base. The deal is seen as a milestone in U.S.-Israel relations. The C-130 has been around since the 1950s, but this newer model can fly higher and is bigger, faster, and quieter. It can fly 4,000 miles without refueling. That's like flying from Canada to Israel, or nearly 4 times the distance from Israel to Iran. Israeli Air Force Chief Major General Amir Eshel calls it the best plane of its kind.
That will be able to operate in long ranges, in a variety of missions, day and night, all weather, all type of joint operations with other special forces.
Almost 40 years ago, Israeli commandos used an older C-130 as part of the raid on Uganda's Entebbe airport to rescue hostages from a hijacked Air France flight.
It was Israeli C-130Es, Hercules aircraft, that brought the commandos to the fight and delivered the hostages from peril to freedom.
Dubbed the Super Hercules, Israel named its new C-130J after the biblical hero Samson, or Shimshon in Hebrew. During a welcome ceremony, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Dan Shapiro called the name fitting.
More than 3,000 years ago, Shimshon became a judge and a hero for the Israelites, renowned for his cleverness, wisdom, fearlessness, and above all, his strength. These three qualities epitomize the Israeli Air Force.
CBN News received an inside look at the aircraft. Lieutenant Colonel A flew this first plane to Israel. We've hidden his identity for security reasons.
It has a lot more capabilities, a lot more possibilities of being precise and safe on doing your missions.
Developed by Lockheed Martin in the U.S., Israel customized its aircraft with some special systems.
With all its Israeli systems in, will outperform any C-130J in the world, I think, and will give the Israeli Air Force and the IDF better possibilities and advantage in all its challenges.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News.
And coming up, a college denies a student admission because of his faith. Plus, legal rights and protection of the unborn just became stronger in one state. Will it create a new standard?
I have a son who's extremely smart and sensitive. He went to heaven. I came back.
One true story has become a worldwide sensation.
You saw heaven? It's beautiful.
Now, Heaven is for Real is a profoundly beautiful movie.
They don't believe me, do they?
Some people might be afraid to believe.
That will help many to believe.
Is heaven a hope or as real as the earth and sky?
A perfect family film. Heaven is for Real. Rated PG.
I was having some pains between my shoulder blades. At that point, everything changed. Diagnosis, pancreatic cancer. First, there was prayer. The second is to fight. As soon as we walked through those doors at Cancer Treatment Centers of America, all my anxiety left. The pastoral care here is based on the Bible, based on the Word of God, just as it is at our own church.
When you combine the great medicine with the spiritual resources we have, it provides the patients with something that really can make a difference.
You got a pastor right there on staff praying with patients, whether it be scripture or whether it just be a word of encouragement to say, God's got this.
If you or someone you love is fighting complex or advanced stage cancer, go to cancercenter.com/faith. You'll learn how our treatment results compare to national averages and see a list of insurance plans with which we've worked. Advanced medicine and technology, the warm embrace of the Spirit.
I firmly believe God led me here.
Call or go to cancercenter.com. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits. Appointments available now.
I have a son who's extremely smart and sensitive. He went to heaven. I came back.
One true story has become a worldwide sensation.
You saw heaven? It's beautiful.
Now, Heaven is for Real is a profoundly beautiful movie.
They don't believe me, do they?
Some people might be afraid to believe.
That will help many to believe.
Is heaven a hope or as real as the earth and sky?
A perfect family film. Heaven is for Real. Rated PG.
A Maryland man is denied admission to a college for his faith. Brandon Jenkins says the Community College of Baltimore County told him he, quote, wore his religious beliefs on his sleeve. Jenkins was otherwise qualified for the school's radiation therapy program. The ACLJ has filed a federal lawsuit on his behalf. In a statement, it said belief in God does not and should not disqualify a student from admission to a college, and the university's blatant and explicit discrimination is intolerable. The Alabama Supreme Court has handed down its second decision declaring the word child includes both the born and the unborn. It follows the appeal of the conviction of a woman who used cocaine during her pregnancy. Her baby tested positive for the drug at his birth. Now, under Alabama law, it's considered chemical endangerment of a child. The court ruled that the state has a legitimate interest in protecting the life of children from the earliest stages of their development. Alabama Chief Justice Roy Moore and Justice Tom Parker wrote in the court's opinion, God, not governments and legislatures, gives persons these inherent natural rights. And joining us now is Father Frank Pavone, the National Director of Priests for Life, who is applauding this decision. Father Pavone, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, tell us, what is your take on this? A very, very interesting decision coming out of Alabama.
If you look at the trajectory of constitutional history, you see that there's an ever-expanding recognition of rights. For example, we've seen it in the case of workers' rights, where court decisions have that once restricted them in favor of the employers, eventually expanded those rights, children's rights, women's rights. Now I believe we're at what we can call an embryonic moment, where the unborn child's existence and rights are being increasingly recognized. And this decision out of Alabama is right in line with that trend.
This is a decision, of course, in the Deep South. Do you think that this decision will affect other courts, will affect, the thinking on the issue in other parts of the country?
It is a state court, of course, and so it'll have a different effect than if it were a federal court. But certainly, especially thanks to the work of the pro-life movement, we will certainly not let this decision be ignored.
And a very interesting take on the word unborn. Do you think maybe lawmakers will take notice and start trying to push for an expanded definition?
Well, we already see laws in place that reflect this wider definition. Most of the states now have laws protecting the unborn child in the case of injury or death by causes other than abortion. And of course, there's such a law at the federal level as well. Increasingly, also, you see other sorts of laws recognizing the unborn child's rights in various contexts. So this is certainly something that will add to that momentum. And yes, I think legislators will, in fact, begin to take this more into account. Because not only is it a matter of the trend of law and constitutional interpretation, it's also, when you come right down to it, basic common sense. I mean, especially in this case in Alabama, we're talking about chemical endangerment. We all understand that if you endanger the child while he or she is in the womb by means of drugs, for example, that's going to have an effect on them after they're born. It's based on biological fact and common sense that I think is more and more gaining the upper hand.
All right. Really interesting to see how this is all playing out. Father Pavone, thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
And up next, a terror group's mission to destroy a once strong Christian nation.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
This is a national healthcare alert from the Health Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one suffers from knee pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, we've got great news. You could qualify for a pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. Get free delivery, and all the paperwork is handled by our accredited suppliers at no charge to you. If you're on Medicare and have knee pain, don't wait. You may qualify to immediately receive a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost. Friendly agents are standing by 24/7 to help you. Call the Health Hotline right now for details toll-free. Our friendly representatives are standing by now to take your call. We also have other pain-relieving braces available for shoulder, ankle, and your back. You may be eligible to receive these items and more at little or no cost to you as well. Call right now for details toll-free.
Operators are standing by. Call 855-740-8143. That's 855-740-8143. Again, 855-740-8143. That's 855-740-8143.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
Welcome back. The United Nations says hundreds of civilians were massacred in the city of Bentiu, South Sudan, last week. Many lost their lives after taking shelter inside a mosque, thinking it was safe there. But they were trapped as rebel forces seized control of the town from government troops. A UN official described the scene saying piles and piles of bodies were left behind after the shootings. The attack targeted certain ethnic groups and may have been sparked by calls for revenge. And in Nigeria, Christians in the Muslim-majority north have been the targets of relentless, deadly attacks by Islamic extremists. Things are so bad there that more than 200 pastors in the northeastern Borno state have either fled, closed their churches, or been murdered by the militant Islamic group Boko Haram. Christian leaders who remain are fasting and praying for the region 1 week each month. One pastor said, "We have to stay and uphold the name of Christ in this state." These are just the latest of many attacks against Christians by the radical Islamist group Boko Haram. Members say they will not stop until Sharia law is spread throughout Nigeria. George Thomas has more from this African nation, which once had the majority of Christians.
250 miles from the Nigerian capital of Abuja sits the sprawling city of Kano. It is the epicenter of Boko Haram's holy war against the country.
I really would prefer not to talk about Boko Haram's activities. They just make me very uncomfortable.
Is that because you're afraid?
Of course, everybody's afraid. We are all living in fear.
What this group is doing to our country is terrible. They are killing our people and they want to divide us.
Boko Haram's official name in Arabic means the people committed to propagation of the Prophet's teachings and jihad.
This is a faceless enemy. They don't wear uniform. They live among us and suddenly attack.
A spokesman for the Islamist group says the deadly attacks won't stop until Sharia law rules the country.
Boko Haram is a jihadist movement that has the same ideology as all other Salafi jihadists, as Al-Qaeda, as the Taliban, as Al-Shabaab. What they want to do is to establish an emirate, an Islamist radical state, first at the northern part of Nigeria, and then push to the south and declare an emirate across Nigeria.
It won't be easy. Nigeria is evenly split between Christians in the south and Muslims in the north. Sharia law is already in place across 12 states in the Muslim-majority north. And while Boko Haram wants to see the Islamic laws more strictly enforced, the group's radical theology has little traction in the south.
So now the group is trying to spark a religious war by getting Muslims and Christians to fight one another.
Founded in 2002, Boko Haram has terrorized Nigerian Christians by attacking their homes, churches, and killing scores of believers. Bishop Ransom Bello is a prominent Christian leader in Kano. He's received several death threats from radical Muslims. The most recent came from Boko Haram, warning about an impending attack against churches here.
I think my biggest worry is about the security of the Christians in Kano State.
At one of Kano's largest mosques, Imam Abu Bakr Jibrin used a recent Friday noon gathering to urge followers to remain calm and seek peace. But in an interview with CBN News following Friday prayers, Imam Jibrin refused to directly criticize or condemn the actions by Boko Haram. The group has distributed leaflets warning anyone, including Muslims, not to criticize their actions.
I don't know who these people are, so I can't judge them. I can't tell you if Boko Haram is a Muslim group or not.
Now, in the 5th year of its war against the Nigerian government, Boko Haram is stepping up its attacks. So far this year, more than 1,500 people have died and nearly 750,000 forced to flee their homes. Many of the recent attacks were far more complex and coordinated than anything linked to Boko Haram before.
The bombs are increasingly sophisticated and powerful. So this has gone beyond a sort of local radical group.
That has Nigerian and Western security officials worrying about potential links to international terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda. A Nigerian newspaper investigation traced funding for the group's activities to the UK and Saudi Arabia, and further plans to turn Nigeria into another Afghanistan. Members have also reportedly met and received training from senior Al-Qaeda figures in North Africa. And now perhaps equally worrying are reports of Boko Haram sympathizers within Nigeria's police intelligence services, army, and judiciary, leaving many to worry about the future of Africa's most populous country.
I see this as a spiritual battle over Nigeria. Because these issues goes beyond economic, goes beyond politics, goes beyond natural things. It's spiritual.
George Thomas, CBN News, Kano, Nigeria.
Up next, a way to cash out by staying off your cell phone. And guess what? There's an app for that.
This is a national healthcare alert from the Health Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one suffers from knee pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, we've got great news. You could qualify for a pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. Get free delivery, and all the paperwork is handled by our accredited suppliers at no charge to you. If you're on Medicare and have knee pain, don't wait. You may qualify to immediately receive a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost. Friendly agents are standing by 24/7 to help you. Call the Health Hotline right now for details toll-free. Our friendly representatives are standing by now to take your call. We also have other pain-relieving braces available for shoulder, ankle, and your back. You may be eligible to receive these items and more at little or no cost to you as well. Call right now for details toll-free.
Operators are standing by. Call 855-740-8143. That's 855-740-8143. Again, 855-740-8143. That's 855-740-8143.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
Social media apps have people glued to their phones lately, so some university students created an anti-social media app called Talk to fight cell phone addiction. You can gain points for how long you stay off your phone, and students hope this sparks a social movement.
You create a game and you initiate a time and you select your location you're at, and it kind of blasts your social media outlets, and then you do a time limit and you see like how long you can last without being on your phone.
Like most importantly, your value proposition. Ours is to get people social again in a real human way.
So it's just to get people out in more social venues. So by giving them more rewards and discounts to other social venues, they're going to keep going out more and keep meeting people and keep playing Talk.
You may be getting these points and getting status and rank in this game, and it's competitive, but more importantly, you're talking face to face, you're networking when it really matters, and you're getting outside of your tight social circle.
And points earned will give discounts to local hotspots. That is all for this edition of NewsWatch. Have a great night.